Good morning, traders. I'm Joel Alconin.
And I'm Dennis Dick. Welcome to Pre-Market Info. Joel, we got a little bit of shrugging off this bad Microsoft Google news from last night. We had dropped 5 points overnight. Japan was down big too, but this market is resilient, and we are only down half a point this morning.
Yep, tech is a wreck, and the market does not care. Made a
I
new
know.
all time, made a new all time high yesterday, 1688.50. Man, even with Google down 60 points and Microsoft getting tar and feathered, the SPOOs are down 50 cents. It's just amazing. I'm keeping an eye on this 1675 level. That was the pre-market low. As long as we hold that level, perhaps we can float back into the 1680s.
But Google has bounced back from those pre-market lows. Bring up the chart of Google. Let's look at it overnight. It was down significantly. It's down 25 points here still, but this has come back a long, long ways from those lows that it had set. It got as low as 850, 880. I guess everybody washed out that wanted out at that price, and it's just slowly been drifting back. So despite kind of a disaster quarter for Google, they missed. I'll just give you the numbers quickly: $9.56 versus estimates of $10.79. So a big miss on the bottom line. The revenue came in light too, 4.11 billion versus 14.11 billion versus 14.42 billion. Cost per click going down. All their business segments were light on revenue. It was kind of just a disaster quarter, but here's this market starting to shrug it off here again, and now actually Google only down 25 points. Slow and steady climb back.
Yeah, Matt on the Benzinga news desk made a comment that they're really starting to do somewhat of a transition to mobile. So perhaps that the numbers are skewed a little bit as this transition takes place. But looking at it technically, I mean, this is a pretty bullish chart. For a
Not
stock
bad.
that's down $30. 850, 880 since we hit that low last night as I was watching this thing trade. It's just been a slow, steady climb, kind of topping out here right around 885. So this should be an interesting level to keep an eye on, 885 as the market opens. Take a look at this from a daily perspective here. Really, the Googster's been, holding, this 850 to level after it hit 920 the first time it came down and tested 850, and then we made a new all-time high, and we backed off again. So I guess you really can't throw the baby out with the bathwater until we break below 850. Now coming up on the upside, you got to think now of the people that are wishing they would have sold Google in the 900
Yep.
handle.
Yep.
That would be a cycle because we're actually at the highest level. We are trading right now at the highest level since we hit that 858 80 low at 885.70, folks. So let's keep an eye on this slow rally here.
Yeah, and it's been this steady climb back, and I think you're right. I think they're going to line up in the 900 area just because such a psychological level. A lot of people regretting holding it in the report. They've watched this thing overnight just get slaughtered. So if this thing comes back and starts another 15-point rally, and just rallied 30, so it can do another 15. I don't know if it's going to do that, but I think you're going to start to run into resistance here eventually because I'd be shocked, Although, like, you look at Philip Morris yesterday, that thing opened down and ended up coming back positive after a bad report. So this is the market that shrugs off bad news and bad earnings.
I told you that Philip Morris was a buy at
Yeah,
86.10.
I wish we could have got. I had my order sitting out there, Joe. I had out there in the pre-market. I had out there in the regular session. Didn't get sniffed. It got as low as 86.70. Obviously, didn't get down to that 86.10 level that I wanted. And before I knew it, the stock actually traded over $90. It was unbelievable. You had Philip Morris trading up on the day after a disaster quarter, and then you had SanDisk, which reported a blowout quarter, and it was trading down on the day at one point in time. This is a wacky market, man.
You know what? Before we move on to our next issue here, Money Boo Boo is popping in here about how does this bode for Apple? And I know they hit it initially on the news, but now you have Apple back unchanged. I mean, is it
Yeah.
time to put on this Apple Google spread?
It's just a slow, steady climb. We've had 6, 7 days since we got back above the 420 and had a nice close above it, where we just kind of are grinding our way north, grinding our way north. I think they're trying to grind it to that 440. $150. I think you're going to run into some more resistance when we get up to there, though. But I don't see Apple just turning around and taking off, obviously barring news or anything like that comes out on it. But from a technical perspective, it's got a little uptrend going. So I guess if you play that little trend there, obviously the Bulls are a little bit in charge here right now.
Yeah, just one interesting note here. We did in the Apple yesterday. Did get up to a 434.87. That missed the June 18th high by only 3 cents here. So that 435 level may take a couple cracks. Not sure if we'll get up there today, but I think you break above this 435 and you get a move up. But it sure doesn't move up like it did when it made that run from like 280 to 700. Seems like someone's always stepping in to sell it.
Volatility is just dead in this thing. Like, it was one of the most volatile stocks, obviously, 3-4 months ago, and it's just tight ranges here now for Apple. So it's a slow, steady grind north. I mean, the market overall too has just been a slow, steady grind north too. So I guess it's moving with the overall market for once, because Apple actually had a mind of its own up till the last couple of weeks. Let's move on to the Microsoft numbers, because
Oh,
everybody, that's just unbelievably disastrous for Microsoft here. Everybody thought they were the big turnaround story of the year. Well, now from a fundamental perspective, it doesn't look like the quarter was a big turnaround. They missed big time, 66 cents versus 75-cent estimates. The revenue came in light as well, 19.9 billion versus 20.79 billion. Cowen and Company downgrading them this morning. Stock train down 7.5% at 32.77. It's not a good day to be long Microsoft.
right. No, just giving a lot back after that major run here. I'd had to do some digging here in the archives to find some support. That's what I do for you guys here. 32.57 was your low back on June 24th. And if that doesn't hold, you had a double bottom with the April 30th and May 10th lows of 32.26 to 32.32. I mean, that was just an unprecedented run for for Microsoft, and now it's coming to roost. But man, you think it's a little bit overdone here, Dennis, or not?
The problem is everybody's been bouncing in this for the turnaround story. It made a new 52-week high 3 days ago, and it put in a little bit of a double top the next day if you looked at that. So technical formation there, a double top right around the 36.42 and 36.39 area. So that's a little bit concerning if you're looking at it from a technical perspective, but obviously concerning is just the fundamentals. People were jumping into this thing thinking, oh, this is the next big thing. Microsoft is turning it all around, and this quarter is telling us they're not. And that's the scary thing here. So if you have a lot of people that were jumping in looking for this thing to basically make its run to 40, those people are significantly underwater right now. And if they're looking at just from a fundamental perspective, the fundamentals don't look good now here either. I think that's why we continue to drift down. I don't think this one's going to bounce back like the Google did. I just think it could continue to drift down. You did cite a couple of good levels. Obviously, stocks don't go straight down, so I think you will find some support probably at those couple of points that you just pointed out. But at the same time, you have a lot of concerned long investors here that were jumping in thinking it was a turnaround story when apparently it just isn't yet.
And when you see these kind of moves like this over, we got the weekly chart up here. We moved up from 26.26, got over 36.43, which is just call that like a 10-point rally. So 10 points and 20 cents. You add 5 points to that. I think your longer term investors may want to wait if this thing, wiggles its way down to 31 quarter, 31 and a half over the next few days. That would be your first, retracement, the 50% retracement. So a little bit longer term, that could be a target on the downside, but really an unprecedented move from Microsoft
Yeah, and it's
today.
having such trouble bouncing here in the pre-market too. Sitting here on 3.4 million shares now, so big volume. Obviously, big volume last night as well. That's just the pre-market volume here, 3.4 million this morning. Steady down. It's not bouncing whatsoever, so I don't know. I like the Google a lot better than Microsoft. Sorry about that. I can't speak here this morning, Joel. I'm still fighting. Man, I get sick. I tell you, the drug companies make stuff money off me because I get more colds than I don't know. But I had one last month, and I got this summer cold going. Somebody just coughs at me wrong. I seem to get sick. But anyways, let's keep moving on here. CMG, which is Chipotle Mexican Grill. I like the food there, man, at those things. It tastes it's good and it's cheap. But they beat 2.82 versus 2.81 on the bottom line. Revenue came in and kind of blew it away, 816.8 million versus 803 million. So CMG spiking up here after hours after that report, and spiking up in the pre-market, and believe it or not, making a new, I believe this is a new 52-week high, not quite an
Yeah.
all-time high. We got back to the 440 area back in April of 2012, but it's a new 52-week high for Chipotle.
That's a lot of burritos. Looking at the high, 406.99 was the initial surge. But I think what we need to keep an eye on here is this 390 level. After trading over 400 briefly, made a couple stabs at 390. So I'd be keeping an eye on that if I was doing any kind of shorting off the open, which may not be recommended the stock today. 390 should serve as support. Looking at this from a daily perspective, I mean, the stock, I believe it got under $300 at some point and
Wasn't
has managed.
Einhorn dogging it a little bit too back in the July or August of last year? Was that 300? Then Einhorn came out saying that he thought it was a short, and the stock got down under 250 on those basically a couple days after those Einhorn comments. I think he was dogging it a bit. That was the bottom. That was the bottom when that thing a couple days after Einhorn was giving it a little bit of heat. 233.82 it got down to there, which you just pointed out, and obviously it's been straight up since then. So good 6 months here for Chipotle longs. We've also got AMD reported here last night, and here's another story again. Everybody thought this PC, everybody thought AMD was turning it around here as well. Broke out to a new 52-week high just yesterday, and now they report a quarter that disappointed the street, losing 9 cents. Supposed to lose 13, but still not good enough here. Everybody thought they were really going to blow it out of the park. Credit Suisse and Morgan Stanley both downgrading AMD here this morning, and this is down 50 cents. That's a huge down move for a $4 stock.
Right. It did have a crazy move over the last 6, 7 days. It just went from 4 to
Yeah.
464 in a heartbeat. Maybe you got some shorts, puking ahead, worried about the number. But what I kind of like about, and we'll just look at this from a daily perspective here. You did have that ridiculous run up to the 460 level. People probably shorting it all the way up there. And now you're coming down and you're trying to fill the gap that it has. You got a gap between 406 and 416. I think that you're going to see traders, using that opportunity. Whoever, was the late shorts here, you're getting a nice 50-cent stroke on this. For some reason, I just think this sell-off is a little bit overdone, and I think this $4 level is going to be good support,
Yeah.
and to see if it can migrate back up to 430. But I'm looking for this thing to hold $4
Such
today.
a big psychological level. You got to give it a little wiggle room though, because you had a couple lows, 399, 395, even down to 386. So I don't know. I'd rather probably buy just under 4, because you know what they like to do? They like to hit them through those stops. If they can get it to 4, they like to take it through 4. They know they'll trigger some stops. They're buy from those stops and then rally it. You see that a lot of times with the big hole numbers, that they just slightly take it through the number and then turn it around the other way. So a kind of $4 overall, if you're just using as a round number, it's going to probably show you some support. But don't be surprised if it takes it out. And then maybe the better play, like you always say, is to buy it as it comes back through it. So if it comes down to 395 or something like that, maybe after it comes back through and starts rallying through 4, maybe then you buy it. So
We haven't had a wager in a while, but I think it hits 426 before it hits $4.
oh, I think it could do that too. So I'm not. I'm
Okay,
just saying if
okay,
it gets down to
okay.
4, I think you got support. I still like this stock here because I think there's been a lot of people that were underwater here. I think they will come in to buy it off the hop. So I'm not really bearish the stock when I'm saying. I'm just trying to give you a
Okay.
scenario analysis
Okay.
more than anything for you listeners out there. And we're just talking about the $4 level as being support, but I'm not willing to basically say it's going to $4 and short it at 413, because I think it could easily be back at 426 before $4. It is going
Okay.
to run into some buyers there.
I'll let you slide.
You'll let me slide on that one. General Electric reported here this morning. Actually, I didn't really think it was that great of a quarter, but the market sure does. 36 cents versus 35. The revenue was light. 35.12 billion versus 35.58 billion. GE has traded up in the pre-market as high as 24.34. Somebody got really excited with that because it's back under. Well, it's actually at 24.02 right now. It always seems like you get these overshoots, though. Hey, Joel, like they come in and they're like, oh, we're gonna, and they just buy and buy and way through a key psychological number of 24. You almost gotta figure 24 is gonna provide some resistance once the regular session opens, but people still are willing to pay way above 24 at 24.34.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's just. I don't think that's a human buying there. I think it's a computer buying there at
Ah, there's
24.
humans buying it too. Computers, humans. 70% of it's computers, 30% of it's humans. So some of that's what they say high frequency trading is 70% of the market now. So there is still some human participation out there. So, but yeah, there's computers that are doing a lot of fun stuff too.
From a gap perspective here, 23.94 was yesterday's high, and after hitting at 24.34, we've dipped under that level a couple times. So, perhaps this, be an opportunity here to, a gap play coming back on the upside. You did have some daily levels in the stock that I'm not sure exactly. I should know this off the top of my head that I don't, but 24.45 is the high of the move. Stop short of that in the pre-market. I don't think you're going to see that 23.34 today. And if you do, just keep eye on that 24.45 level. But 24 should be a good swing number.
I think it could drift higher, though. The one good thing about this is the report wasn't that great. It's still rallying. So that's telling you something that people want to own this stock. It's a company, if you put it in perspective, obviously it was $60 and we go back, to 2000 and right before way back. So if we go back 13 years, I think I hit over $60 in the year 2000. Obviously it's been, pretty much dead money for the last decade. So you're looking 2007 it was 42.15. I don't know if you can go farther back than that or not, but in 2000 I can remember this stock was up at $60. So when you look at it from that perspective, 13 years later it's only at 23 still. So it's telling you there's still, a lot of air, there's still a ways that this thing could run before it even starts to sniff up to the highs that we even saw in 2007 and 2008. So GE could go for a bit yet. I still like GE actually.
4%. Well, it's probably down now, but pays that nice dividend too. What is it, between 3 and 4?
Yeah, it's around 3, I think, actually now. But yeah, nice little dividend. So it's a little bit of a defensive play with the dividend in there too. So I like the GE as a longer term investment. I don't know, as a trade here, I think it can still drift higher here too. And I wouldn't be surprised if we saw that 24.45 today. So
no way, no way,
no way. We're 40 cents. There's 40 cents off to see. I'm not going to bet you on that one, but I'm a little more bullish than bearish this one.
Okay.
Honeywell's brethren. Remember that Honeywell GE?
It's funny you mentioned that because that's when GE tried to take over Honeywell.
Yeah, GE was back in 2000 or 2001, way back in the day. GE was trying to buy out Honeywell and it got blocked. And now Honeywell has just been, the stock that way outperformed GE since that time. And Honeywell's been straight up, and GE has just not done that well at all. Honeywell did report earnings though at $1.28 versus $1.21. They're raising 2013 earnings estimates. They're raising sales estimates, and stock is trading higher. It traded a lot higher in the pre-market, as high as $85. There's an overshoot for you. Came down to reality now here, trading at 83.5. So it's up 50 cents here this morning.
Yeah, I think some bright traders still have that GE Honeywell spread on.
They're real bright.
GE.
Yeah, the bright traders. The smart ones.
Taking a look, this thing busted out to $85, and then look at that. It hits 85 in the pre-market on initial euphoria, and then sells off all the way down to 83. And then you go to the dailies here and you take a look. What's yesterday's high? 83.29. So you're getting a bounce there. It filled the gap according to the pre-market. I think as long as you hold the close here, 82.97, 83 pre-market low, you might be poised to go up. That 85 is kind of ridiculous. I believe that's an all-time high for Honeywell.
I believe it is too. I'll just go back to the monthlies myself. Yeah, it is an all-time high for Honeywell, and I don't think you're going to see 85 on this thing today. That was just a big-time overshoot on that one. Another one we can just talk about quickly. We're going to run short on time here, but ISRG, which is Intuitive Surgical, looks like it's going to be one of your disaster stocks of the day here.
You're stepping out here, Dennis. Yeah. You're stepping out here.
Remember the big gap down day from 500 and then a gap down like 430 or 440 or whatever it did, 421. Now it's getting another gap down day again. So here we are, gap and hang out for 2 weeks. Now it's gapping down. It's going to hang out for 2 weeks again. Down $43. They missed on the top, $3.90 versus 404. Or I missed on the bottom, missed on the top too, and the stock is getting killed here this morning.
Yeah, this is a funny one because it announced that they were going to be bad, and they killed it, and then they came out and it was bad
And they
again. It's
killed it
like
again.
it's deja vu all over again. You did hit 355 in the pre-market, and now you have over a 20-point rally here. So I think if you start to cachet back down to that 355 area, I think buyers will be stepping ahead. Even at the 360 level. But what I thought was got a lot of questions from traders about this stock. When you get a move like this, a big gap down, everyone's looking for natural instinct, including me, is for this thing to come back and fill some of this gap. And what I kept on looking at was this like 430 level, and I just kept on saying to myself, until this
Never
thing
want to get above
can
there.
close above 430, and it snuck up there on a couple occasions, 430.50, 432.50, and even settled 430 on the nose one time, but it never did that. And it just, people were caught. They were trying to get out. Now more people are caught. I think, I know you're going to have to use a monthly here to take a look at this. Taking a look at the monthly to try and find some support here. You did have some lows. If you go way, way back, on the monthly, you had 341.21, but I'm using the pre-market low today. 355 is a good parameter.
One other one, COF, which is Capital One Financials, rallying pretty good here off of their numbers. This is new 52-week highs for COF2, $1.87 versus $1.70. Beat on the top line too, 5.64 billion versus 5.53 billion. Stock trading up $1.70 here on that earnings beat. Stock is off to the races here, Joel.
Yeah, good old cough here. Not a lot of volume though, Dennis. You're just kind of floating up here on some little bit,
2,200 shares.
yeah, a little bit of odd lots here. 69.24 pre-market high, trading off that. So just have to wait for the volume to come in on this one. Yesterday's high, 67.52, should act as support if you're trying to short this thing off the open.
So many big earnings. We didn't have time to get to them all, but obviously check your earnings calendar. Make sure if you're trading a stock that didn't report here last night or today. I just want to mention, go back to the SPOOs. This is option expiration here. It's the third Friday of the month. Obviously, we see a little bit more volatility typically on these days, so we just got to be careful here if you're trading these stocks here today. That a lot of times you'll see these opens, I'd say 2 out of 3 times, they get skewed a little bit too high. So you could have a setup here where stocks might want to open a little bit too high and might give you an opportunity right off the 9:30 hop to maybe put on, or get out of a long position or put on or initiate a short position if the stock's open too high. Not talking about the earnings stock specifically, but just any stock with no news in general. They all have a tendency here, especially the S&P 500 stocks, to open a bit too high on days like this. So here we are. We're trading at 16.79, which is $1.50 down. Fair value is up there, I think around 16.82 or 16.83 because we had the sell-off between 4 and 4.15 off the Microsoft and Google numbers. So I think fair value is actually up about 4 points. So we're actually about 4 points underwater here when you consider fair value on the S&P futures, which would say all the stocks should open down, roughly 0.3%. If some happen to open up here, maybe it gives you an opportunity, but just be careful on individual news on these ones.
And just from a technical perspective, under the current low of 75.50, you do have the Thursday Globex low at 71.75, another area support, 4 points. If you do get through that, you do have a double bottom from earlier in the week, right around the 16.66 level.
Well, that's our show for today, guys. Have a great trading session, and we'll have a great weekend, and we'll be back with you on Monday.